BF goes on a work trip and says he turned gay, temporarily due to high altitudes of the mountains. Jake's text hit Lila like a snowball to the face, babe. The mountains mess me up. I'm temporarily gay. She stared at her phone, coffee cup frozen midair, wondering if her boyfriend of 3 years had lost his mind or just his phone to a prankster. High altitudes, really. Lila had always trusted Jake. He was the guy who'd carry her groceries up 4 flights of stairs, who'd laugh at her terrible puns, who'd promised her a future with a little house and a dog named Muffin. So when he left for a week-long work trip to the Rockies for a geology conference, she didn't bat an eye. She packed him extra socks, kissed him goodbye, and teased him about not falling off a cliff. Now, sitting in their cozy Denver apartment, she reread his message, her heart doing somersaults. The next day, Jake was back, his hiking boots still dusted with mountain dirt. Lila waited at the airport, arms crossed, her mind a tornado of questions. When he stepped off the escalator, his sheepish grin made her want to hug him and strangle him at the same time. "Explain," she demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut through the terminal noise. Jake fidgeted, his hazel eyes darting. "It's the altitude. Lila, thin air, low oxygen, it messes with your head. I was up at 12,000 feet, and things got weird." He rambled about a fellow geologist, Ethan, with piercing blue eyes and a campfire conversation that felt too intense. Lila's jaw dropped. Was this her Jake? The guy who once said feelings were just brain chemicals? They drove home in silence, the Rockies looming in the distance like silent judges. Lila's mind raced. Was this a confession? A breakdown, a bizarre excuse for something else? She loved Jake, but trust was a fragile thing, and his words felt like a crack in their foundation. Back at the apartment, Jake spilled the story over lukewarm pizza. He and Ethan had been mapping a remote ridge when a storm trapped them in a tent for 2 nights. The altitude, he swore, made him feel floaty, like I wasn't myself. They'd talked for hours about rocks, life, love, and Jake felt a spark he couldn't explain. "It wasn't me," he insisted, his voice cracking. "It was like the mountains were messing with my wiring." Lila wanted to laugh, but the hurt was too raw. "So, what, you're gay now, or just when you're above sea level?" Her sarcasm hid the ache in her chest. She wasn't mad about the possibility of him exploring his feelings. She'd always supported friends who came out, but the flippancy, the absurdity of blaming mountains, felt like a betrayal of their honesty. Jake reached for her hand, but she pulled back. "I'm not gay. Lila, it was temporary. I'm back to normal now." Normal. The word stung. Was their love just normal to him? She stood, pacing, her thoughts a tangle of anger and confusion. "You don't get to just flip a switch. Jake, you felt something? Own it." The next few days were a tightrope. Lila threw herself into work, her graphic design projects a welcome distraction. Jake moped, leaving apologetic sticky notes on the fridge. "I'm an idiot? Love you?" She ignored them, unsure if she was punishing him or protecting herself. But the silence was suffocating, and she needed answers. She called her best friend, Mia, who laughed so hard she snorted. High altitude gay. That's a new one. Dump him or drag him to therapy. Lila wasn't ready to dump Jake, but therapy sounded good. She booked a session for them, hoping a neutral voice could untangle this mess. The therapist, Dr. Chen, was a calm presence in a stormy sea. She listened as Jake recounted the trip, his voice a mix of shame and confusion. "I don't know why I said it like that," he admitted. "I felt something for Ethan. Yeah, but it wasn't romantic. It was like, I don't know, admiration, camaraderie. The altitude made everything feel bigger." "Doctor," Chen nodded, her pen tapping. "Altitude can amplify emotions. Jake, low oxygen can cause euphoria, confusion, even hallucinations. But it doesn't change who you are. It just strips away filters." She turned to Lila. "And you? How do you feel?" Lila's throat tightened, betrayed, not because he felt something, but because he hid behind a dumb excuse. I want honesty, not mountain magic. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. Jake looked at her, his face crumpling. I'm sorry, Lila. I panicked. I didn't know how to process it. The session cracked something open. Over the next weeks, they talked, really talked. Jake admitted he'd always bottled up his emotions, afraid of seeming weak. The mountains, with their thin air and vastness, had forced him to feel things he'd ignored for years. He wasn't gay, he said, but he was questioning what normal even meant. Lila, meanwhile, realized her anger wasn't just about Jake's words. It was about her fear of losing him, of their future unraveling. They started hiking together, small trails at first, then bigger ones. It was Lila's idea, a way to face the mountains that had shaken them. On one crisp morning, at 10,000 feet, they sat on a boulder, breathless from the climb. No gay vibes up here, Lila teased, her first real joke since the text. Jake laughed, his eyes crinkling. Nah, just vibes for you. But it wasn't all smooth. Trust took time. Lila caught herself checking Jake's phone once, hating herself for it. Jake, for his part, worked on opening up, sharing small fears and dreams he'd never voiced before. They read about altitude's effects, how it could mimic intoxication, amplify emotions, and laughed at how Jake's temporary gay excuse wasn't entirely baseless, just poorly worded. One night, under a blanket of stars, Lila asked, if you could go back, would you change what you said? Jake thought for a moment, his breath visible in the cold. No, it was stupid, but it made us talk. Really talk. I'd rather mess up and grow than stay comfortable and fake. Lila nodded, her heart warming. She saw Jake differently now, not as the perfect boyfriend, but as a flawed, growing person, just like her. Their love wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, forged in hard conversations and mountain air. The Rockies still loomed outside their window, a reminder of the chaos and clarity they'd brought. Lila and Jake weren't fixed, but they were moving forward, together, one honest step at a time. They learned that love wasn't about never doubting, it was about facing doubts head on. Even when the air was thin and the path unclear. What do you think was Jake's altitude excuse, a cop-out, or a clumsy attempt at honesty? Share your thoughts below. En referee to one.